are ready to go again. So I'll just ask Zoe if she'll start the live streaming, because it's going to be live streamed. It's an open workshop. Yep, and then we'll get things going.
Yep, started.
Oh, come on, George, you can keep us alert and enthused. Over to you. Oh, I think Gary's going to give a 2-minute introduction to this whole amazing project, aren't you, Gary? Digital roadmaps.
Thank you.
Go for it.
So just this morning you adopted the KPIs for me, and one of the first cabs off the rank is this presentation to give you an update on where we're sitting with the digital roadmap and how that relates to enhancing the customer experience. So this is a direct result of those KPIs that you adopted this morning.
All right, thank you. So Richard Henderson is also online. Are you there, Richard?
Hi.
Thank you. So, yep. So this is the digital program is a co-led program with myself and Richard. So what I wanted to do today was, as Gary has said, this is about the first response, I guess, to one of the CE KPIs, is to formally brief you on the digital roadmap. And so today, what we thought we'd do was we'd actually go back to the beginning of the journey, because I think that's important to set the scene, and then in terms of where we are now and then where we intend to go, and with the customer experience context within that as well. So if I just move to the first slide. So when we first started this journey, we wanted to set a vision and objectives, so that we're in about year 4 of Council's digital roadmap now. So we've been on this journey for quite some time. And so we asked our customers what they wanted. We did some quite extensive surveying. We did some quite extensive workshopping with staff, and established what our digital roadmap vision and objectives are, which you can see up there on the screen. You can see at the end of the pack that we've given you just 2 or 3 supplementary slides, which give you a little bit more information and background in terms of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And that talks about digital customer segments and a little bit more information, and distilled down into some sentences really that have guided the development of this in terms of what our customers want from us. And it would be fair to say, that customer and staff digital expectations are increasing, and they are increasing at quite a fast rate. We then adopted a set of digital principles. So they're really important in terms of they've guided Council's investment over the last few years, and they still continue to going forward in terms of the business case being proposed for the 2024 LTP. And what they really do is they guide us in terms of a holistic approach in terms of investment decisions. So historically, prior to the digital roadmap, there had been a lack of technical investment. You could say that the council was in technical debt in regards to its information services. And this has provided a set of principles in terms of where we move forward. And they, you can see the benefits of that on the right-hand side. But what it also does is it's guided us in terms of not just implementing, but then how we support and maintain those digital services over time, because it's about the whole of life costs of our digital assets as well, and our information. So there are guiding principles in terms of when we do make purchases for new products, digital-based products. And I just wanted to go into one of those in a little bit more detail. You'll see there that we talk about, we have adopted an enterprise strategy, which is number 7 there. So I just wanted to talk about what that means in a little bit more detail. So what that means is we look really towards our enterprise provider. So for Wiper, it's Technology One, and also our Microsoft products as well. And we look to those products first before we look outside at other solutions. And so what that does is it allows us to join up our information really as the guts of it. So we want to have information that flows through our end-to-end processes and across all of our functions at Council. So Council's a complex business, and it's got multiple things that we need to do. We need to manage our workforce, we need to have good customer interactions, we need to manage our assets, we need to manage our finances. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and we want all the information across those aspects all connected up, because that's when it creates just-in-time information for our customers. That's how it creates efficiencies for the business. I mean, it also creates what is kind of like a consistent experience for our staff, for our customers, because everything sort of starts to look the same and everything is joined together. And it allows us some predictability of our costs over time as well. We're not a big council, so we need to be very considered about how we purchase and how we look to maintain our digital services over time. So that's really the story behind that approach. And really over time, what that's building is a one customer and one staff view. So a staff member can see everything about themselves, their teams in one place. And over time, our customers will as well. So this is just a schematic to show our actual digital roadmap. And it shows how much we have delivered to date. So we're in the red bit down the bottom. We've just about finished all the blue stuff, and we're really now moving into that transformational space. So we've done a lot of building foundations. So we're moving everything into the cloud, Microsoft 365, all our unified communications, a lot of things that our end customers don't see, a lot of things that aren't entirely visible, but are important foundations for them to move us into the transformation space. Yep.
Could you just take us through a few of those things, because some of them I don't know what they are. I might be the only one here, but just like for example, the green box CI moved to the cloud. What's CI? Just by way of example.
Yeah. So Richard, do you want to? I'm going to hand it over to Richard, the technical person. Do you just want to explain that in a little bit more detail, Richard?
Sure. So CI is connected intelligence, and it's essentially the name Technology One give to the software it develops its products in. So we're moving from CI to CIA for all of the various business functions and applications we use. So moving CI to the cloud was the first stage in that.
And so that's what CI is. So we have a look at laying the foundations, and what Richard is saying is we moved everything to the cloud. So that's given us a huge amount of business resilience. And we saw that with COVID, where we could get a remote workforce working within 48 hours fundamentally, because everything was off premise, and most things are now off premise. We upgraded the website. We put in unified communications. So that's removing all our desk phones, team-based, new contact center software, etc. Upgraded to Microsoft 365. Some other things, ECM. So ECM is our document management system. So that was a very fundamental first thing that we needed to do. So that was migrating about 2.6 million documents from one system to the other. That was a very significant project. And our document management system now underpins everything that we do in terms of that flow of information between systems. If we move over to the orange, we're talking about...
Could I just interrupt you for a moment? Getting back to the cloud services, I was wondering if Richard could just give me a bit of insight as to where the cloud services are located. Like just in the last few months, there's been discussion about whether or not it's good to have them offshore or better to have them in New Zealand, given security threats. Could you just give us a bit of a picture of what the services are like, Richard, in that sense?
Sure. So the Technology One platform, which is kind of the core business information, sits in AWS in Australia, and it's essentially ring-fenced to Australia. That's a jurisdiction that we are able to save information to. Before we did that, we did an assessment with the DIA to essentially approve the moving financial information from New Zealand to Australia. So we're comfortable with it being in Australia. Amazon are building data centers in New Zealand, and whether or not Technology One kind of move a New Zealand node of the information back to New Zealand, we're unsure about, but we'll certainly keep an eye on it. Microsoft, again, we or ring fence some of it to Australia, but some of it does go to Singapore in Office 365. But again, we're uncomfortable with the core information sitting in Tech One and in Australia.
Great. No, that's really good. Thank you.
Cool. And sorry, just in terms of the question, if I just keep moving around to the right, we start talking about low-hanging fruit. We then knocked off some low-hanging fruit next, and then started to work through some enablers to enable us to move into that transformation space. So we did Alpha 1 building consents. We've got automated invoice matching going, which has saved us a bit of time. We recently just implemented e-invoicing. So I think one of the first 3 councils in New Zealand that have done that. We've migrated our finance systems, completely upgraded them to CIA, payment gateway enhancements. So, I mean, I could go on and on. I'm very passionate about it. But I guess it's foundation laying, low hanging fruit. And now we're actually moving into the transformation phase, which we'll talk about a little bit more, where we start to get into our human resources systems and migrating those over to Technology One. We're implementing asset management systems, so that will help us to forward plan our asset management from a strategic perspective a lot better. And the third thing is around the customer experience, which I'll talk about a bit more.
Roger.
Yeah, really interesting. Just on the orange box down at the bottom left and the reference to AI, where do you see the application of AI into your systems?
We're using staff are fundamentally using very basic tools of artificial intelligence right now. We've actually just recently, we're issuing a new policy around that tomorrow. So things like ChatGPT, etc. But I'll hand over to Richard in terms of the more transformational views that he might have around the use of AI at council.
It's a really good question, and to be fair, I don't think anyone really knows where AI is going to go in the mid-long term. It's certainly got a lot of potential. We're already seeing vendors like Microsoft build AI into their core product, and at this stage, we've got the choice to have it turned on or have it turned off, and we'll see where that goes. You know, there's plenty of examples of AI being used for some time, but the kind of the big language models and the ability to leverage things like ChatGPT now are really showing people what it can be used for, and I guess the big thing here is we need to make sure that they know what they're getting into, and being really careful about how they use it, making sure they don't put sensitive information into those big language models, which then save it for reuse, making sure that they don't put kind of core business information in there, but just trying to leverage it in a productive way, but keep the risk out. So yeah, it's a bit of an unknown, but it's definitely a exciting kind of technology to leverage.
It's just that I'm currently reading a book to inform myself more of AI, and I think I'm more scared than anything else. So if you're setting a policy on that, I'd really be interested to have a look at the policy.
AI is really topical internationally at the moment, and even the commentators there on international news and things like that aren't sure where it's going to go as well.
So we have provided staff with guidelines around its use to keep them and the organisation safe, and we can share that with elected members. But basically, you've got to make sure you don't put personal information in there, identify Waipawa District Council, so it doesn't become part of the database.
All right. So, sorry, that's okay. Yeah.
Go ahead, Monty.
I don't know, I don't want to hold us up, but that's really interesting. Could you carry on through for the bits I don't understand in the orange box, like everything in its place? What's that? Because how's that different to the SEM that we started at the foundation level?
Yeah, so everything in its place is a continuation from implementing the document management system. So that's a piece of work that Richard is doing. So we've got legacy folders, legacy, I'm going to call them servers, and I'm sure I've got that wrong, Richard, floating around that don't really support best practice information management. So that program of work is about making sure all our information has been moved off these places and into ECM. Would that be correct, Richard?
Yeah, good summary.
Yeah. Any other specific questions? Yeah, so that's our spatial mapping, our spatial mapping system. So that was on premise, and that's part of moving our services into the cloud. So intramaps. All right. I'm happy to. All right. So I just then wanted to touch on the benefits, because it's obviously important in context of the investment. And really our benefits go in two piles here. So they go in our intangible and our more tangible. And really, I guess the key message to deliver here is that the strategy that we've taken is that these benefits accrue over time. So the more that we implement, the more benefits that we accrue, because everything is interdependent and interconnected. So now we are really starting to see some benefits come through. And you'll see a lot of intangible ones as well, in terms of we've talked about business resilience. We've had to remove a bunch of high risk legacy systems, that integrated information. Something probably else to touch on is the collaboration. There are about 30 councils across New Zealand that use Technology One as the enterprise system, and that's growing. So we do a lot of collaboration with our peers in terms of best practice implementation, those kinds of things. Just in terms of those staff time savings, so that's a conservative estimate. We just recently did some work and looking at our connected content efficiencies. Just with that alone, in 1 year, we believe we've saved council 150 weeks of, over the last 3 years, 150 weeks of staff time. So as part of the implementation of each of these products and modules, we do undertake a benefit analysis and realisation part to those projects.
Can I just add one, which is, I don't think it's specifically, although it's inferred in a couple of ways, and that's our responsiveness to our clients. The fact that it's easier, it's faster, more accessible, that all aids in our speed of getting back to the community we serve. And I think that's the real advantage.
Yeah, and as we talk 2 to 3 slides over, we're starting to move more into that space now. So we've been laying the foundations, and we can talk about where we intend to go, which is absolutely being more responsive, faster, more streamlined, saving our customers money as well. Yeah.
I've got a question from Mike, and then you.
Yeah, it's more just a statement, it's almost off the back of Rogers. Actually, I was looking at that customer access convenience. I'm wondering whether it should, it's really access, convenience and satisfaction, because when you go through this, there cannot be anything but greater satisfaction. So, yeah.
Yeah, good comments. Thanks. And Liz?
Look, I guess my only query right now is, I know we can do this better, and I can see where this is all going, but we can't control our contractors. So I get worried, I guess, in this space sometimes, because we can move and go as fast as we can, but a lot of our contractors who are working for us don't operate in the same space. So how do we? Is there a way that we can do some work to bring them along as well?
I mean, I guess I think that's a really good question, and Richard might be able to add to this as well. I guess we do bring our suppliers and our contractors along on the journey, in the sense that we try to make it easier for them as well. So, for example, all our upgrades to our supply chain systems have meant that suppliers can more easily interact with us. E-invoicing means that everything is a lot more automated. Things like that we're currently looking at, or with our PNR upgrade, we'll be looking at how our contractors can I've lost the word, liaise with our systems to close CRMs. So there's a whole bunch of things that are coming down track. So those contractor conversations, I guess, are all a part of it. For example, we're about to soft launch ePlan, and bringing our developers along on the journey who want to readily access a digital district plan as part of that project. So it's kind of we're addressing it on a case by case basis. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that, Richard?
Look, only that it does take time to embed these changes. And one of the things you can do is look at contract renewal times, and when those contracts come up, do you want to discuss, you know, how that contract can be delivered more efficiently next time around? So yeah, it does take a bit of time to kind of embed these changes across the kind of ecosystem. Yeah, that would be my comment.
George, I'd like to know about whether or not you were able to work with people like CoLab or something, you know, so representing other councils. You did mention that there is collaboration with peers, but all of this work, you know, if you're just doing it for Waipa, yeah, it can be resource intensive and costly. Are there ways to collaborate across the local government sector, perhaps using CoLab? Like, where do they fit into this?
Yeah, so I'll hand that over to Richard, who is our representative on CoLab for the information services area.
Thanks, George. Yeah, look, we're really active with CoLab, and we're constantly talking to the team at CoLab and other councils around opportunities for sharing and improvement. In some ways, the more natural fit tends to be councils that have got the same enterprise resource planning system, or ERP, in our case, Technology One. So in the Waikato space, it's quite good because we have the Waikato Council, we've got Waipa, Rotorua and Taupo, and we're all going through the same program of works and bouncing projects off each other. So CoLab can be helpful to partner with other councils, but there's also kind of a natural affiliation of councils using the same systems, and that's where we get a lot of benefit.
Yes, Roger.
Yeah, one of those benefits that I see down there is responding to audit recommendations and compliance management. And currently there's a huge amount of discussion going on the level of our audit for this current year and the increase in time that they're talking about applying to us. This I see, you know, if we integrate our systems with Audit New Zealand, it will actually make that whole process that much quicker, faster, and reduction in time, because they'll be able to easily access a lot of the audit, questions that they're going to ask of us. So let's hope that this comes through within the next couple of months. But anyway, yeah, I think that audit requirement will certainly benefit from this.
Oh, cool, thank you. So I just wanted to now focus on going forward. So where are we? We've laid all these foundations, we're moving into the transformational space. And so really I wanted just to highlight three big rocks. The first one is around focusing on the customer experience. So currently our property and rating system, which is where all our property information is held, customer information is held, where all our applications go. It's a big core piece of our business. We'll be seeking to upgrade it over the next sort of 12 months to 36 months. We're currently on what's called the CI platform, which Richard talked about, and we're wanting to upgrade that into CIA. And what that brings with it is a significant amount of value to our customers. So that will enable us to implement things like customer portals. We'll have more streamlined request management, more seamless applications, CRM spatial representation, and with it comes more of a user-friendly interface that's a lot more, for want of a better word, sexy than anything that we've got right now. So that's a big rock. We are going to be starting to scope that later this year. We anticipate the benefits to be quite significant, but we can't quantify those yet until we actually go into that scoping phase, but it will be about those efficiencies and that customer experience. The second rock is we're continuing with our employee value proposition. So we're implementing human resources and payroll. So we've done stage one. We're just about in the next couple of months to migrate our payroll system over to Technology One, which has been a significant investment. And our third stage is around performance development, succession planning, etc. And then the third rock that we're delivering is activity management. So we want to get into the strategic asset management space. So we've started this journey with property services. They're now into stage 2. And then we're just starting to move into our community services where we're migrating from our current system onto technology 1. And again, as we have built these big rocks in our enterprise system that will allow integrated information and allow strategic forward planning in our asset management space. So they're the transformational pieces that we've been working towards over the last 3 or 4 years that we can now move into. But what I did want to show you was, and I don't know who have seen it, is because we're looking at the customer experience context here. Just wanted to show you a quick video that we've put together for staff to help them on the journey around our property and rating upgrade and what our aspiration is. So it kind of sums it up, and it's really about connected information. So hopefully it will play with sound.
When we're all connected, we're better together. So what could Waipa look like in the not too distant future within our increasingly digitally connected communities? Sally is going for a walk in the park. She receives a text alert reminding her Bruiser's dog registration is due. Sally decides to do it now, before she forgets. She logs onto the council customer portal on her phone and renews and pays for the registration. Easy! Time to push the kids on the swing, but one's broken. Sally takes a photo of the broken swing, drops a pin on a map and sends it through to council. Parks team leader Megan receives Sally's message indicating an urgent safety-related job. Megan changes the status of the job and assigns it to John, who's in the area. Out on site, John receives the damage report with all the details. He fixes the swing and marks the job as complete. Back at home, Sally gets a text saying the swing has been fixed. That was fast. She also sees a notification about some roadworks around the corner and plans a detour for the afternoon school run. Meanwhile, at Council's contact centre, Mary rings to say she noticed a broken swing at the park yesterday. Jacob checks in the system and can see it's just been fixed. After thanking Mary for the call, he notices an alert saying Mary has a pending application and wonders if she needs any help providing the documents. Mary says yes please, and Jacob puts Mary through to his colleague for a chat. We're well on our way on our digital roadmap, and Waipa in the not too distant future is getting closer. Teams across Council are working hard to deliver on our vision of a digitally connected community. Our goal is to connect our processes and information so we can work smarter and faster and deliver exceptional digital services to our customers. When we're connected, we're better together. So thanks for playing your part in our digital journey. Our digital future is exciting.
That's it. That's the briefing.
Oh,
Well, a great way to end. Yeah, thanks, George, and thanks, Richard. That's great. Any questions, anyone?
no, but I mean, hey, if we can achieve that, that'd be absolutely brilliant. Our CRM system just lets us down, I think, and I guess that's where I was going to with our contractor. I've got CRMs that are still out there. I think we're 2 months into a post that's still lying down on the road. I just think, where's the contractor? And I don't know whether they know or not. It just feels like there's some missing links. So if this can work, this will be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, I have had the opposite. I had someone ring me about a street light that wasn't working on Tuakaramea Road that hadn't been fixed like for 2 months. He was following up on it. And I put that through to Brian's team and they said, oh, that's actually been fixed yesterday. Like it was amazing. Yeah. And I did get a message from the ratepayer to say, oh, I realise it has been fixed now. So yeah, something worked.
I guess I'm slightly, not skeptical is not the right word, but we've got to understand that, part of Gary's job is to be efficient as possible in terms of costs and costs of salaries and costs of contractors' expenses. And as we get more efficient, we're going to have perhaps less people doing the stuff. So you just, that's an ideal, but keeping rates low is an ideal as well. So that there is a conflict there. I guess that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, certainly. And You heard on that video at the end, the comment byline, we're better together. Well, just last year, I mean, these systems are only as good as people using them. So we launched a fresh charter on top of our values in terms of managing this place in line with the values that we hold the organisation to account for. And so a big part of this is to the CRM question. That could be a lot better by the folks dealing with those CRMs, closing them off properly and following them up. So we've actually got underpinning all of this investment. We've got a significant push on Potataki, our charter work.
May I make a comment? And I think this work is tremendous and thoroughly supported. And I suppose maybe in another generation, we're going to get all of our community who are technologically capable. But there is still, unfortunately, a number in our community who are not, and they have problems with internet banking, and they've got problems not having email, and they've got problems of not having a mobile phone. And so as long as we go down this path, we just don't forget that there are those out there that really do need.
Sounds a little bit different, but I could swear that was Hazel talking.
Yeah.
Roger.
I don't.
And I just wanted to say I'm totally in favour of this as well. It's awesome. You're doing a great job. I guess I just, what made my comments was, what sprang into my mind was the dealing with the power companies, which I tried to do recently. Very technological, but doesn't matter what you do, you're waiting.
Andrew, we do use a product called Antenno. Be great to get more ratepayers onto that, or residents onto that. But we've also opened discussions with Waipa Networks to see if they're interested in sharing that tool in the interest of dealing with their customers in a consistent manner.
Georgie, thank you. And I wish, we had something really quick like that too, because driving through Pirungia and having to get 101 messages from people at Purikiriki Marae that there are campaigning billboards on Mātakitaki at the moment that need to be shifted because they break the bylaws apparently with the council. So I wish I could have had that ability to go ding ding, off to council.
But you could have asked them to use the Antenno app.
But I didn't know about Antenno until now, Marcus. So yes, I will get onto that. So kia ora for today.
I was on the phone, I'm not going to say who, and the answer that I got was, you are now 45th in the queue and the anticipated waiting time is 36 hours and 45 minutes. That's a bit of a Gordon exaggeration, but you know what I'm getting at.
Right.
So you're with Ansley Bank as well.
Thank you, George. It was great.